It is. It's nice. Like John and I have this kind of yin and yang sort of relationship when it comes to how we approach our ideas. We kind of go at it with two sort of different perspectives. And I mean, Blair, to your point, yeah, we we butt heads like at least 3 or 4 times a day. There's something, and it's usually not even about games. It's about everything. It's about our coffee decisions. It's about whatever it is. We will absolutely find a way to disagree with each other if we can. But with like game development, it's kind of worked in our favor.
So how did you promote the game then? Because you guys did some like Steam Festival kind of things, right?
Yeah, John, you want to take this one?
Yeah, although I forgot how it was. We either did a festival right before we launched or right after we launched, and I don't remember which one it was.
We did a demo in spring.
Was it right?
So we did, yeah.
So it was right before.
Yeah, or the Winter Fest. We did the Steam.
Oh, we did.
So
we did both, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we got into 2 festivals. So we did. No, we didn't do the spring. So we got into the Winter Festival.
Yeah, Winter Festival.
And we like upped our wish list that way, and we got like people to know about what we were doing, and got like a good amount of eyes on Meow Pow. At the time, I think it was listed as it would be free, but we also had a demo, which was like just the first level, which we could have put the whole thing out there, but it was like, no, let's get those downloads. So yeah, we just had a free demo, and yeah, people liked it. It seemed like it did well. It gave us a lot of traction, got a lot of wish lists, and then it launched maybe a month later. And the launch went really well. And then probably a month after that, it was the Remote Play Together Festival, which we then spent like a weekend trying to figure out how to just, make little updates here and there. And then we were part of that as well. And so Remote Play Together, if you don't know, it's part of Steam, where if you and your friend, or you have a game and your friend sees you playing it, like you can invite them, or I think they can ask to join, and then you both get to play the game remotely with only one of you owning it. Because a lot of people were asking us for like online multiplayer, which was not something we were going to add. So this was a way to appease the people who have asked for it, but also it was nice to be shown off in that promotion. And I think, Vinit, you were looking at all of the stats on that, and we were like one of the few sports games and one of the few
for the first one. Yeah,
for the
Winter
Festival, right?
So it was actually funny. So for the Winter Festival, when we did it, they had a category for cute, and I think they also had a category for cat. And so we fit this like really and for sports, and we fit this super weird niche that was like cute cat sports. So we got anyone that was looking for that. So I think there were like 2 other games that were in that, and then we were the only one that was local multiplayer. So we got a bunch of eyes on the game from the Steam Festival, just because when you scroll through the categories there, we were just one of the few people with a demo on that. But with the remote play, it turns out it wasn't really a festival, it was a sale.
Right.
And Steam doesn't promote, so for Steam sales, they don't promote free games on their like main page, and like their like main page real estate is really how you get noticed on Steam. Like that's how a lot of that the algorithm for those festivals work. And so we were accepted into the festival, but we didn't realize that it was so we had done all this work to get the game out there, and they also had like this, like you could do a developer live stream and they'd promote that too. So we were doing a live stream, but we were like, why is our game not showing up on that page? And it was because it was free, so it wasn't being the Steam algorithm wasn't displaying the game for other people to download, because there was no sale to be had for a free game. So we were just, it was super disappointing. We did get a bunch of people looking at that live stream, and we figured out how to get that. What was an app that we used to like stream to a bunch of places at once to work? So that was
Restream.
Yeah. So it wasn't like completely fruitless, but yeah, that it was super disappointing to not be on that, to not be featured in that. But lesson learned, you gotta, if you want to be in a sale, you gotta actually have
have a game to sell.
You gotta be on set.
Exactly. Yeah. You gotta sell something.
what now? I'm going to pivot here. Now you're working on a new project already. What can you share about that? What are you ready to share about that at this point?
Yeah, I can talk about it. All right, so I'll just give you the quick pitch that I was given to some of the people that we were talking to recently. But the kind of idea of the game is Overcooked meets mini golf. So what we're kind of going for is this sort of top-down delivery game. So the premise of the game is a sort of narrative premise of the game is you're this person that is doing this fruit delivery startup on an island, and you want to deliver to these archipelagos as quickly as possible. So every level is sort of Overcooked style. You're trying to deliver these fruit as fast as possible. But the kind of hook of the game is that the movement that you do is sort of click and drag, and you click and drag and slingshot these little boats around the archipelago, these sets of islands in the water. So it's got this sort of ping pong mini golf style physics system, and with like the Overcooked sort of delivery mechanic of trying to optimize your delivery to get to places. And there are a lot of interesting obstacles and things that we're putting into the game, and we're going with this sort of, I kind of hesitate to say roguelite, but this loop mechanic in there where when you lose, your company goes bankrupt and you kind of start back again, but you get to keep some of the bits of your company that you had before you started the game. And so we're trying to make it as like weird and quirky as possible. So like the boats in the game are sort of Pokemon-esque characters that you can fish for, because we thought that would be super funny. Yeah, that's sort of the basic idea of the game.
That is super cool. John was actually telling me about it this past weekend, and it was when he said fishing for boats, I was like, so that's how it works.
Yeah, because when we talk about that game, we pivoted that pitch to saying Overcooked meets mini golf, but we used to say like fishing for boats, and people we're hoping that would be sort of a hooky kind of catchphrase, but I think people associate fishing with boats, so they don't kind of give it a second thought that the boats themselves are the fish in the game.
It's not paying close enough attention then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So does the game have a title yet, or is it still early on?
We're calling so it's got the title of the game has gone through a number of iterations for a number of reasons, but the working project title is Fruit by the Boat. It's definitely not going to be the final version of the game. Definitely like very sort of American targeted, so it's not really going to translate well. But that's what we're going with as a project title.
Right. I like it, but you're right, it may not translate well. Fruit by the Boat.
Yeah, I mean,
how about fruit off the boat?
Yeah, all right.
It's
I mean,
I was just thinking fresh off the boat. So.
Yeah, that's not bad. So we were going with like, Fruit by the Foot, I don't know if they're the fruit snack. I don't know if you guys had that growing up.
Yeah.
I kind of remember something like that. Yeah.
They don't call it fruit by the meter in Canada?
No, it was fruit by the foot.
Because they don't localize. Okay.
They don't okay, well maybe this will work then.
So how long have you been working on this one now then?
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
Yeah. Next week.
So it overlapped with Meow Pow?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
A lot.
Got it. So you're working on multiple stuff at once then. That's keeps it fresh.
Yeah. That's one way to describe it.
So aside from having to do all of this through COVID and working on multiple things at once and launching a free game and the challenges you face with promoting that, with the newest title, what have you faced in terms of technical, financial, or existential challenges?
Yes. All of the above. So I think like one of our biggest hurdles, which we just got over probably in May, was what is this game? And so we were really trying to be like, oh, this is going, this is a gameplay first, game mechanic oriented game. Story will serve the mechanics, and art will serve the mechanics and all of that. But really, what happened was I made this little demo. I showed it to Vinit, and I called it Knock Loose, but like knock with an N. So it's like when you load a bow, it's like aim, knock loose. And it was a top-down roguelike dungeon crawler where you were an archer with a limited number of arrows. And so it was kind of like Enter the Gungeon meets Towerfall.
Never played Towerfall.
Towerfall's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like local multiplayer, like arcade kind of fighting game, but you have like, if your arrows, you drop an arrow, you shoot an arrow, you have to go pick it up. So I thought that would be like a really interesting idea, and it was okay. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever thought of. So I showed it to Vinit, and he's like, "Yeah, totally, we should work on this." And then I went away for a week to like a cabin in the middle of nowhere, and like I had no cell reception, no internet. It was weird but nice. And so on the drive back, I finally get cell service, and I text Vinit. I'm like, "Hey, I don't want to make this game anymore. What do you think about making a game about boats delivering fruit in like tropical islands?" And he's like, "Okay, let's talk about it." So, and this is after we like explored, a few ideas. Really didn't. I don't think we really coded anything. I made a bunch of art that was like okay, and was like playing around with some stuff. And then we just spent the next like 9 months just iterating on this idea. And then we kept getting further and further away from it. And we ended up with like making a Into the Breach like style game, where it's like turn-based, working against the environment. And then we made like this, story game that was very like Breath of the Wild like. And we just kept making these prototypes. And I think we have about 12 prototypes. And then we split off, and each made our own demo and brought it back to each other. And then we're just like, oh no, this still isn't quite right. So I started looking through old notes, and it said something like Ordia meets Superhot. And Ordia is like this game where you like slingshot this little creature to like different points, and like it's a fine little mobile game. But I made something like that, and it was okay. It was like you'd slingshot a boat, and time would only move when you would move. So it'd be like, oh, here comes another boat, and you have to like line up the shot right. And it was very slow. And then I gave the demo to Vinit, and then he spent a weekend with it, and he just like ran with it. And I think he flipped the whole time mechanic where time doesn't move when you move, and then kept adding boats. So then you have multiple boats, which is like kind of cool that you're controlling like several ships at once, and just kept adding stuff. And then it was just like, oh, cool. And I know you said earlier about like weird that like it's two people working together in an indie game because you have your own vision. And I think we each really do have our own vision. But ultimately, I think the core of our vision kind of aligns, where it's like we both want to make a good game that will help us pay our bills. So we're willing to like kind of make sacrifices and just kind of argue till we both get to the best solution, and like chip away at each other's ideas till they're like similar, or like they work together.
It's a fairly complimentary relationship, but do you ever step on each other's egos and put some hurt feelings here? And
yeah, I invite anybody to come to Gumbo for a day when John and I are there, and you will absolutely see what that's about. Yeah, John, like
I've never seen you guys disagree. I mean, maybe I just
Really?
ignored or something.
You must have very good,
my earbuds are in usually when I'm there. So
that's probably what it is, because Jonah sits right across from us, and he is part of all of our arguments. But it's nice. Like John and I have this kind of yin and yang sort of relationship when it comes to how we approach our ideas. We kind of go at it with two sort of different perspectives. And Blair, to your point, yeah, we we butt heads like at least 3 or 4 times a day there's something. And it's usually not even about games. It's about everything. It's about our coffee decisions. It's about whatever it is. We will absolutely find a way to disagree with each other if we can. But with like game development, it's kind of worked in our favor because it's sort of like I don't know if you guys have seen that like Twitch plays Pokemon, right? You see this sort of weird cohesion and chaos. Like you get all these people putting in whatever inputs they want onto Twitch, but somehow they end up beating a game like Pokemon. And it's just, I think there's some of that. We have these things kind of steering in, or ideas that seemingly steer in these different directions. But the core of it, the thing that we're trying to get to is like John said, we just want to sell our souls for money. Is we just want to be able to survive. And that's kind of where it comes down to, is like, does the game suck to play, right? We can kind of settle the disputes by playing the freaking thing and seeing how it is. And we've definitely stepped on each other's egos, but we've gotten pretty good with just like taking each other's shit, just being able to kind of roll with it. And I think it's kind of made both of us better for it. It's made me better for it, at least. I don't know. John's he's his own person, but I'll speak on his behalf. It's fine.
It's not new.
Yeah, but it's worked. I feel like even when it came to the design of the game, right? Like when every pivot that we made, I don't know, like 11 or 12 changes, massive changes that we made to the vision of the game. And everyone was sort of like, shit, we're shifting this thing again. And it's sort of like, not only is it difficult to kind of come to terms with, because it was like, oh, this was kind of our baby for a hot second. And now we got to move on to something else. But it's also just like, well, when are we going to get to a thing that is, releasable, right? It's just that, like, are we ever going to actually meet our end deadline of like finishing this game in a year and a half and like getting it out to people? So there's always that kind of like existential dread anytime you do this sort of disagreement, because that's kind of looming in the background every time you have something like that.
Do you sort of have a point where you sort of like, all right, scope is hammered down, we are not changing anything more, we're just going to build this game now, and we're just going to, it may not be 100% perfect, but nothing ever is, and you just go with it? Or are you guys still kind of working to get there?
I think we're there. Yeah. I mean, we kind of knew with the original prototypes where if it didn't hold up to scrutiny, if like we could kind of look at it in the long run, like with the first game that right after Knock Loose, we had worked on kind of this sort of bigger prototype for a little bit. And one of the main problems with that prototype was we were basically trying to build a Breath of the Wild style game, but in the water. And there was no way that
very
that was
huge.
Yeah. Like we're not Nintendo, we're not going to kid ourselves. Like it's not, there's a lot that's going to be involved with some of these kinds of things. And even if, the mechanics and the design and everything kind of makes sense, if it doesn't fit the scope of the thing that we're trying to do, we're kind of okay with after some time, like shutting it down. And that was kind of the problem with a lot of our prototypes. It's just, the scope is too big. So I think with this one, it just feels, once we scoped out how long it would take to get a lot of the stuff done.
You don't want to spend 7 years on a JRPG and just like be like, fuck it, and just.
That's a low number there.
Yeah, we got time. Blair. It's existential crises happen often enough. We'll probably get there.
So, if money were no object and you had all the resources in the world, what kind of game would you guys make? Or it doesn't have to be the same game. You don't have to do this together if you don't want to.
Final Fantasy 14 remake.
Okay.
No, I would make. John, you can take one.
I was going to say, if resources and money is no option, I would probably fund another studio that I liked and then just retire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. I want to be
retire and then do what?
Just invest in other small indies. I think
play
more
other
interesting.
people's video games.
Yeah, just see other people make cool stuff and then be like, oh yeah, I put money into that.
Just have your name on it. Just have your
Yeah.
name at the top of it as a
Yeah, just
main
be a
producer.
publisher.
Yeah.
That's it.
That'd be amazing. Oh my god, that's a dream. If I never have to code again, my god, it'd be too sweet. It'd be. I like coding and all, man. I think I would really like to make a. I've been telling John about this for a while, but I want to make a kind of narrative focused game, but I've never made a narrative, like a real narrative, for anything aside from like little short stories that I've written. So I would love to make something that has a narrative element that can take, like, I don't know, I like putting humor in the stuff that I write, and I would love to do like an anime parody game. I would just love to go in on going hard on that. I'm a super weeb. John's also a big weeb. He just doesn't admit it. So I would love to do something along those lines.
Sounds great. So yeah, for me, I would I don't think I could ever stop making games, regardless of any sort of level of success at it. If it ever happens, I think I will do this for as long as I possibly can until I die. Yeah.
And so long as you do that, Blair, I will be making music for your games.
Hey,
That's good to hear.
Almost for free.
Almost for free. You got the right price, Gary.
There you go.
All right, guys. So you are really working together. Not even really a couple of years into this yet, are you?
Well, 1 year next week.
What, 1 year only? I thought
Yeah.
it was
1 year, yeah.
because I thought you
Yeah.
started just before the pandemic. On
Well, not working together.
Okay.
Like, I mean, we worked on a jam, but
yeah.
that was it. It was Labor Day weekend was like our official start because it was like a 3-day weekend.
Got it.
So it was like we have time.
So with that said, though, what kind of, like, you I'm sure you've learned a lot in that year. What kind of advice would you give to, if you could rewind time a year and go back and talk to yourselves, or give advice to a younger version of yourself, or just someone else in the community who's getting started out?
Oh God, this is so
Put
much.
in the spot.
Keep your day job. Keep making money.
I think my younger self, like 2009, invest in Bitcoin.
That's the one.
That's what I would do, and then I could go and be a publisher and not make games, because I'd have unlimited funds. Yeah, I think just start. I guess just make something. I mean, I still have people come up. We had students come up to us during Play NYC asking us for advice, and I mean, I've obviously given a lot of advice to students over the years because I was teaching, and it's really just like, just make something that you think is interesting, because I see so many people like making games. Like, one of the first game jobs I had, someone was making doing a bunch of match 3 games based off of like public, what's it called, like public domain stories. So like, they're like, oh, this is Mother Goose match 3. It's like, who cares? Like,
Honest.
no one, right? Like, who cares? Like, that's not something, and no one's really passionate about Mother Goose, and maybe people are passionate about match 3s, but like, so make something that you like, because like we've all said and come to terms with is, I mean, there's a way to make money in this industry, but a lot of times it's a crapshoot, and a lot of times it is passion focused. So if you're gonna be giving it your all, it might as well be over something you care about.
So what brought you into this thing? Because it sounds like you're very well aware of the challenge. There's nothing else you could possibly ever dream of doing.
What, me or
You.
me?
You.
Yeah, I guess it's like, it's the perfect intersection of like art and technology, which are like two things that I really love. Like on the team, I do both art and some coding. So I'm able to like kind of do both, which I can't really do anywhere else. And like, just interaction design's really cool. I just think it's like a great space to be in. And like, I don't know, I was definitely more on the side of believing that, I think starting out, you definitely just do what you love and you learn stuff, and you get a portfolio of work that you can use in the future, and you get like you start making a style, and you start just understanding how these things work. But since working with Vinny, he's much more data oriented and has a much better business mindset. And working with Jose, he had a great business mindset, but he was just like, I'm going to talk to everyone. I'm going to, he was very different. Vinny like looks at this data and is like, hey, if we do these, these are the ways we can make money. It's possible, whatever. Like, we're not building passion projects. We're building a company, which, I think it's great to build passion projects. But like, at the end of the day, we got bills to pay, and we want to build a company. We want to split that difference between, working a job and just doing what you love all day. And I think we've kind of found with all things, we've kind of found a balance. And with this, I mean, hopefully we'll find a balance. I think we're on a good path, though.
All right. Vinit, how about you? What advice would
I don't know if I
you
can
give?
follow that. That was very passionate.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've seen you that passionate before. Maybe, the only thing I would add to that is John makes me come off like a data money robot, but I would really say that for me, the biggest thing, I think there are so many different types of people, but for me, I need a reason to get off my ass and do a thing. Like I need some real motivation. And when I wrote down when I was, it was like 29 at the time, and I had this like big existential dread of like, I'm not doing anything that I actually want with my life. I just made it my goal that I was going to start a game studio by the time I was 30. And I was going to do everything I could to get there. And I think it's just important that, there's that saying that, a work isn't a piece of art until you've got a deadline. I think that's true for basically everything. I just give yourself a deadline and then do the thing. If you sure, keep your day job or quit your day job, whatever it is that you want to do, but unless you hold yourself accountable, unless you tell yourself that you're going to do it, it's always going to be a thing you'll probably get to at some point. You'll maybe get to once XYZ happens. And I think if you give yourself a deadline, you're taking yourself seriously, and you're taking like the rest of your life and the things that you want out of your life seriously. And I think really that's what games are to me. I've always, used games as like a good comparison for everything else that I do in the rest of my life. And I think it's important to make sure that you're, you got to make money. You got to do the things you got to do to survive, but also like do things that are good for you, like good for the things that keep you going. And for me and also for John, it's just like games keep us going. We got to make money. We definitely got to make money. But we're going to try to do that in this crazy ass industry.
So I think, not to disparage our previous guests, but these answers to this question, because I asked this to all our guests, was probably the best we've ever gotten. It was very motivational and inspirational. At least I found it to be so. What did you think, Gary?
Well, it's one of those answers where I don't feel depressed after hearing it.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it's very inspirational, and it's like this way someone could attack you, but like a very American dream kind of thing.
Yeah. Now we just got to get that money.
Pursuit of happiness. Money comes later, or so they
That's
say.
right.
I do have to ask, the namesake of your company, Cheap Ramen Games. How did you come up with that?
John, you can take this one.
Yeah. So like when I was, can we curse on this podcast? Is that thing? Okay, great.
Go ahead.
So so when we were when I first like started like follow the paperwork for the company, my whole thing was just like a fuck you to every single person who I've worked with previously, whether I like them or not, because it was like, okay, you guys did things wrong. I saw what you did wrong. I'm going to do them right. So my way. And so the company, and it still legally is called Tarrasque Digital. Like a Tarrasque is a monster in Dungeons and Dragons. And it was like this very like brutal, like grindcore metal font that was like almost unreadable. Like, I don't know if you know those.
It
very
was unreadable.
Scratchy. Yeah, it was great. And the whole thing was,
Terrible.
I loved it. And the thing is, I got a lot of feedback on it, and people were either like, "This is stupid," or like, "Oh, I love this," which I thought was great because that was the whole point. Because I worked with so many studios in the past, or like just people doing one-off projects, and we would do everything by the book that you were like told to do, or like a blog post said to do, and it would lead nowhere. And then I worked with Normal, and it was just kind of like everything, they didn't do stuff by the books, and it would work out, and a lot of it would work out because they had money, and they also had very talented people, but they were able to hire talented people with money, and it was just like, oh, this is messed up that like you could do things by the book and it doesn't work out. So I was like, fuck you, it's Trask, it's brutal. Vinit comes on and he's just like, I hate this. This is terrible. This is unreadable. I don't want to do anything like this. So his whole thing was just like, we need an adjective and a noun and then games. Let's just do that normal thing that every studio does. So we sat down and probably a good like 2 hours over dinner, made a list of all these adjectives and all these nouns. And was just like, what can we do? And Vinit and I are both vegan, so I think one of them we are gonna do was like soy boy games.
Hell yeah.
And we scratched that one.
Look, there's still time to.
Yeah, I guess we could change. So
I
we
vote
scratched
for
that.
one.
It was great, right? So, but then we were just like, I don't know if everyone will get it. So we kept working with it, and the only rule we had was like the adjective had to be positive. So when we put cheap down, we're like, oh, is cheap a positive thing? And it's debatable, right? Like cheap, like sometimes if things are cheap, that's great, and sometimes they're terrible. And so we're like, you know what? If ramen is cheap, that's great. I love cheap ramen. Let's go with that. And it kind of has this like interesting like part to it. Like I don't know if you guys experienced this, but when I first moved out on my own and was working, when I was working in LA and like teaching games during the day, I'd also then make games at night, and I didn't have money. I ate ramen like 3 nights a week, just instant packs of ramen, and it was awful. But I did it, and I think a lot of other devs did it, and I think it has this like nostalgia to it.
I think everybody does it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So
I still do it.
That was
I got
it.
lucky. I married someone who cooks, so that helps.
Nice. That is
Yeah.
lucky.
That's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
We should have been Soylent Games.
Soylent,
Oh,
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think there
Yeah.
might actually already be a Soylent Games.
Oh.
Really?
I think there is. I feel like
Yeah,
we need to Google that one
that's
later.
where the games make people.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you guys so much for your time. This was a lot of fun.
No, thank you guys. Yeah, this was
Yeah.
blast. This is great.
Thanks for listening to the Phat Games podcast. If you like our content, please consider supporting us by liking this episode and subscribing to our channel. Kids of Karendow Radio will return later this month.